long before the great war of Kurukshetra, long before the Pandavas and Kauravas. There was a love story so powerful that it set the entire Mahabharata into motion. This is the story of King Shantanu and the mysterious river goddess Ganga. King Shantanu was the ruler of Hastinapur, one of the most powerful kingdoms in ancient India. He was known for his wisdom, his strength, and his deep sense of Dharma. People loved him because he ruled with fairness and compassion. His very touch was said to bring comfort to old age. That is why he was called Shantanu, the one who soothes. One day, while walking along the banks of the holy river Ganga, Shantanu saw something that stopped him in his tracks. A woman of extraordinary beauty stood by the water. Her presence was unlike anything he had ever experienced. She seemed to glow with divine light. Her eyes held the depth of 1,000 rivers, and her smile carried the warmth of 1,000 suns. Shantanu was completely captivated. He approached her and asked who she was. The woman smiled but did not reveal her true identity. She was Ganga herself, the sacred river goddess who had taken human form. But Shantanu did not know this. His heart was overwhelmed. He asked her to marry him. Ganga agreed, but on one condition. She said, "You must never question anything I do. No matter what happens, you must never ask me why. If you ever question my actions, I will leave you forever." Now think about this. Imagine someone you love deeply telling you that you can never ask them a single question about their actions. Would you agree? Shantanu was so deeply in love that he accepted this impossible condition without hesitation. They married, and for a time, their life together was beautiful. Ganga was everything Shantanu had dreamed of. She was graceful, wise, and loving. The kingdom prospered under their union. But then something terrible began to happen. When their first child was born, Ganga took the newborn baby to the river and drowned him in the water. Shantanu watched in absolute horror. His heart screamed to stop her, to demand an explanation. But he remembered his promise. He could not question her. He stayed silent, crushed by grief but bound by his word. This happened again and again. One by one, Ganga drowned 7 of their newborn sons in the river. Each time, Shantanu died a little inside. Each time, he wanted to cry out, to grab the child, to ask why. But each time, he held his tongue, honoring the promise he had made. Can you imagine the pain of watching your own children being taken from you one after another and not being able to say a single word? This is what Shantanu endured. 7 sons, 7 lives lost to the river. And still, he kept his silence. But when Ganga picked up their 8th son and walked toward the river, Shantanu could bear it no longer. Something broke inside him. He cried out, "Stop! Who are you? Why are you doing this? What kind of mother kills her own children?" In that moment, everything changed. Ganga stopped. She turned to face Shantanu, and for the first time she revealed her true identity. She said, "I am Ganga, the river goddess." And these children were not ordinary babies. They were the 8 Vasus, celestial beings who had been cursed by sage Vasishta to be born as mortals. Now, who were the Vasus and why were they cursed? The Vasus were 8 elemental gods who controlled the forces of nature: fire, water, wind, earth, sky, sun, moon, and stars. Once they visited the ashram of sage Vasishta with their wives. One of the wives saw Vasishta's divine cow Nandini and desired her. She convinced her husband Prabhasa to steal the cow. When Vasishta discovered the theft, he cursed all 8 Vasus to be born as mortals and suffer the pains of human life. The Vasus begged for mercy. Vasishta softened the curse for 7 of them, saying they would be freed quickly after birth. But the 8th, Prabhasa, who actually committed the theft, would have to live a full mortal life. This 8th Vasu would become Devavrata, later known as Bhishma. Ganga had promised the Vasus that she would be their mother on earth and release them from their mortal bodies immediately. The only way to free them from their curse was for them to die right after birth, so their souls could return to heaven. "I was doing them a mercy," Ganga explained. "By drowning them, I was releasing them from the suffering of mortal life. I was keeping my promise to them." "But this 8th child," she said, looking down at the baby in her arms, "he must live. He is destined for a great and difficult life on earth. His name will be Devavrata, and he will be known throughout the ages." Ganga told Shantanu that because he had broken his promise and questioned her, she must now leave him. This was the condition. She could not stay. But she did not abandon their son. She took the child with her to the heavenly realms, where he was raised by the gods themselves. He learned the art of warfare from Parashurama, the great warrior sage. He mastered every weapon, every scripture, every form of knowledge that existed. Years later, Ganga returned the boy to Shantanu. She brought back a young man of extraordinary ability, trained in the ways of heaven and earth. Shantanu was overjoyed to see his son. This boy, Devavrata, would later make the most famous vow in all of Hindu history. When his father fell in love with a fisherwoman named Satyavati, her father refused the marriage unless Devavrata gave up his right to the throne. Not only did Devavrata step aside, he took a terrifying oath. He vowed never to marry, never to have children, so that Satyavati's future sons could rule without challenge. This vow was so fearsome, so absolute, that the gods themselves trembled. They showered flowers from heaven and gave him a new name, Bhishma, the one who took the terrible vow, Bhishma Pitamaha. And this is where everything connects. Because of Bhishma's vow, the throne of Hastinapur passed through a complicated line of succession. This led to the birth of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Their sons became the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and their conflict led to the greatest war the world had ever seen, the war of Kurukshetra. All of it, every battle, every betrayal, every moment of the Mahabharata, can be traced back to that day by the river. The day a king fell in love with a goddess. The day a promise was made that could not be kept. The day Bhishma was born. Think about the wisdom hidden in this story. Sometimes the things we cannot understand in the moment carry a divine purpose that only reveals itself with time. Shantanu's silence saved 7 souls. His one moment of breaking that silence gave the world Bhishma, one of the greatest warriors and wisest men who ever lived. This story teaches us that love, sacrifice, and Dharma are deeply intertwined. Every action has consequences that ripple across generations. And sometimes the beginning of the greatest stories starts with the simplest of moments: a king, a river, and a love that changed everything.